Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. Really genuinely do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, giving you my opinion on it, but more importantly, asking for yours.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
So in today's video, we're going to go through a couple of rumours. Marson off to Dortmund, maybe. Of course, there's been huge headlines regarding Conor Gallagher and maybe links to Tottenham. Fabrizio Romano has commented on that. Nico Jackson is, of course, going off to AFCON. Chelsea are without one of their reliable attackers. Well, at least one of Pochettino's favoured attackers. And if we have time, we can cover some more stuff like Trevoh Chalobah going, perhaps other profiles. Chelsea are looking at all kinds of centre-backs at the moment, which is really interesting indeed. Settle in, pour yourself a drink, get comfortable. If you want to support the content, you are welcome to, simply by liking and subscribing. If you choose to subscribe, I recommend you hit that bell notifications icon so you don't miss a beat. Of course, we're entering the January transfer window now, and things happen so quickly, you can keep up to date by turning on the bell notifications icon when you subscribe to this channel. Alright, mate, let's get into it. Let's start off talking about Nico Jackson. He has been called up to Senegal and will be going off to AFCON. He's played a lot of minutes for Chelsea as a striker, as a strike partnership with Breuer on the wing. I believe he's played on both wings actually as well. He's kind of a frustrating figure at times. He's taken a lot of heat from Chelsea fans and indeed non-Chelsea fans, perhaps just general footballing media. Yeah, we need to cut him some slack because he's a young player. He's in a new league, a new country. You always have to look at this Chelsea side in terms of any player coming into this Chelsea side might struggle a bit because it's so dysfunctional and it's so like in its embryonic stage of development and transition and all that boring stuff. But it's the truth, and of course the player himself has not long been the centre forward. Of course we've seen him play out wide a couple of times recently and largely look more comfortable. He has got a few goals this season and a few assists, including scoring a winner in the Cup against Brighton as well. He's been a valuable contributor. The last game out as well when Chelsea won against Luton away, which proved to be a very difficult game in the end. If you want my thoughts on that game, check out my previous upload where I go into a complete breakdown of Chelsea's performance. Of course, Cole Palmer, Madueke scoring, but Chelsea letting Luton in towards the end and causing a really big and probably largely unnecessary scare. So do go watch that video if you want the details on that. But Jackson contributed. He assisted what would be the winning goal and he put in some good defensive work. Now, I think it's important for him to go off to AFCON. I think there's been a lot of pressure and stress with Chelsea and probably largely on him and maybe somewhat unfairly. So if he can go with his country, score a couple of goals, relax a little bit or just change his focus elsewhere, it could do him the world of good and it leaves Chelsea in a position to try some different things. Chelsea they still have a centre forward in Armando Breuer, who we haven't seen the best of late, but that doesn't mean it can't come out. What this does mean is we'll probably see a lot more of Christopher Nkunku playing down the middle as a central striker. And of course, we've seen other formations with Pochettino with Chelsea this season. We've seen false nine systems. We've seen a 4-4-2 that's worked really well with the likes of Cole Palmer and Conor Gallagher playing in the front too. Sounds crazy, I know. Do you remember that's how we played against Arsenal when we went 2-0 up and because of a Rob Sanchez mistake, let them back in and we ended up drawing 2-2. But really, we dominated Arsenal in that game. And if it wasn't for naive individual errors, Chelsea probably would have comfortably won. That was a 4-4-2, so that was a front two of Palmer and Gallagher pressing and combining. Of course, it was Caicedo and Enzo behind making that box, and the wide midfielders was Mudryk on the left and Raheem Sterling on the right. To be honest, it worked so well, I'm surprised we haven't seen it since. Oh well, maybe we will, now we're one more striker down. But I wanted to talk about it because Chelsea are really going to look for a striker in this January transfer market. In this video, we won't be talking about targets, but that's stuff we'll cover very soon, so keep it locked here. But I wanted to talk about Jackson leaving for AFCON and how that could change the dynamic of Chelsea, and it could probably do both the player and club good for when he returns he might play a little bit more calm. Right then, let's move on to the next story of the video and talk about Ian Marson going off to Dortmund. I'm going to cite an article now from the Metro regarding Marson. Borussia Dortmund are in talks with Chelsea to sign Ian Marson in the January transfer window, according to reports in the Netherlands. 21-year-old came close to leaving Chelsea in the summer, but he rejected a £31.5 million move to Burnley on transfer deadline day. Whew, that's a big transfer fee. Marson has since struggled to secure a regular role in Pochettino's side, starting just one game in the Premier League so far this season. According to Vertball International, Dortmund have already expressed an interest in signing Marson in the upcoming window and already in negotiations with Chelsea. The report adds that Marson is open to the move to Dortmund, who is currently sitting 5th in the Bundesliga, 15 points behind Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, that is far behind in terms of the title race, but it's still Dortmund. It's not signing for Burnley. I doubt Chelsea will get nearly £32 million for him like Burnley offered, which is still wild, by the way, considering he's like a 21-year-old left back. I know he obviously was on loan there, played very well for them, but for them to drop 32 million quid on him for Burnley is absolutely mad. Of course, the player himself has to agree to go, which he didn't, and this is where we are. We'll talk a little bit more about Marson in just a moment. Let's finish the article. Speaking earlier this month, Pochettino admitted that Marson has struggled to progress after impressing during the Chelsea pre-season. Pochettino said this: "Young players, sometimes they can impress you in a pre-season, but you need to give them time to relax. Sometimes they struggle. He's in our squad, he's a great kid, he's got great quality and can play in different positions, but it's about giving him time. He came from Burnley last season in the Championship. To perform at Chelsea, with all respect, it's not the same competition and it's different. But he's a player that is in our plans, and of course we celebrate that he's with us because he's always helping us." Yeah, I think Pochettino genuinely does like him a bit. Lest we forget, he has turned to him. Granted, he's turned to him as a front four player, and often he's turned to him instead of or in front of Noni Madueke, who actually of late looks like a really useful offensive player. Noni Madueke is a different subject, of course. He will feel very frustrated that he's currently behind Cole Palmer, who, by the way, has been nothing short of sensational. I've just finished watching Match of the Day on BBC iPlayer, and they spent a lot of time speaking about Cole Palmer, about his quality and the how good his numbers are. But anyway, we're not talking about Cole Palmer, we're not talking about Noni Madueke, we're talking about Ian Marson. So of course he's been used by Pochettino as a number 10, a right winger, a left winger, and recently, finally, his native position as a left back. So Pochettino wouldn't turn to him unless he rates him. But I think, and many of you will probably align with me on this, it would be okay to see him go. I think as the season started, we all got terribly excited with pre-season and we thought, yeah, this would be a good backup to Ben Chilwell, and, you know, maybe Cucurella wasn't the most popular figure at the time. But with games and more time passing, Chelsea fans, maybe our opinion changed a little bit. Not that perhaps anyone feels badly about Marson, but probably feels a little bit better about Cucurella, the fact that he can play on both sides. Reminded a little bit how this guy was Brighton's player of the year. Of course, he's very physical and he's got good application. I think Pochettino likes Cucurella. So I think maybe for the moment, left back will remain Chilwell and Cucurella, and for the moment Levi Colwill in their absence, and even Malo Gusto, who we switched over there. Right back again, eventually Reece James when he finally recovers. Of course, Malo Gusto's been amazing, and even Disasi in a pinch, so we're probably okay. And with Ian Marson, I know it's nauseating, but this is what the owners will see. He is an academy graduate. He represents pure profit, and that is massively important for Chelsea at the moment, and looking increasingly important with Chelsea, not going to qualify for the Champions League, which was the target pre-season. So selling a £31 million Ian Marson does a lot to help towards that. The player himself will probably dig it. Let's Dortmund, you know what I mean? Again, this isn't going to Burnley, who are going to get relegated. This is going to Dortmund, play in front of the yellow wall, to wear that famous yellow kit, and play hopefully exciting football. I know they're in a transitional period themselves, but he does feel like quite a Dortmund player. Let me know what you guys think about Ian Marson to Dortmund. Of course, this is just a report coming out of Germany or Holland at the moment, I believe. So comment down below what your thoughts on that. But I think it probably makes sense, and I think the player himself, who of course rejected the Burnley move, who probably in America in pre-season felt like, yeah, I can be part of this Chelsea team, probably thinks now, it's not working out so much. He's playing Colwell at left back, he's playing a centre back at left back, he's playing a right back in Gusto at left back. He's not going to play me there. Maybe in pre-season he thought, oh, maybe I am a left or right winger or number 10, but, you know, Cole Palmer, Madueke, Sterling, Mudryk, and, you know, Nkunku in a number 10, should we play that role? It's just not happening for him. So yeah, comment down below, Ian Marson to Dortmund, and let's move on and talk about Conor Gallagher and the Tottenham stories. Okay, so this is a big one. Of course, we've spoken about it a lot here on the channel of late. Conor Gallagher to Tottenham, well, being sold generally, not so much specifically to Tottenham. We will react to an article in just a moment from Caught Offside. Fabrizio Romano's spoken about this story, and then I'll give you my thoughts in a little bit more greater detail. So let's jump into that now before we say any more on the subject. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Tottenham manager Ange Postecoglou likes Chelsea midfielder Conor Gallagher, though he's played down the recent transfer rumours about the move to Spurs. Quickly, yeah, I'm not surprised at all Ange Postecoglou likes Conor Gallagher. I'm sure loads of managers like Conor Gallagher at the moment. His stats are absolutely insane. He's always available, he doesn't get injured, and his fitness to the end of every single game in, 90 plus 10 minutes is immaculate. Managers like that. The England international has been a key player for Chelsea so far this season, but his contract situation perhaps means he won't be staying at Stamford Bridge for much longer, as the Blues could run the risk of losing him on a free. Speaking exclusively to Caught Offside for his daily briefing column, Romano made it clear that he had no concrete update on Gallagher's situation, even if Postecoglou is a fan of the 23-year-old. Romano said this, quote, "We also keep hearing about Conor Gallagher, but I'm not aware of talks now taking place between Tottenham and Chelsea for Gallagher. He's appreciated by Spurs since last summer. Ange Postecoglou likes him, but there are no talks ongoing so far. Despite the speculation, there's really not much more to say at this stage. Chelsea fans surely won't want to see a key player like Gallagher moving to a London rival like Spurs, but this does not seem like a saga worth keeping an eye on. It wouldn't be easy for Chelsea to replace Gallagher, who's improved a great deal this season, so it surely makes sense for him to stay at the club. Look, let's go over the old ground. Conor Gallagher loves Chelsea, wants to play for Chelsea, he's wearing the armband, he friggin' loves it. He's a massive supporter of Chelsea, therefore, what do we think of Tottenham? Exactly. What do you think he feels like being linked to Tottenham as a Chelsea boy? Maybe he's offended, maybe he's hurt, maybe he just laughs it off with his family, who are, by the way, all Chelsea fans as well. Really, really interesting indeed. It is a tricky situation. Look, he's playing well. He's wants to stay at Chelsea and the manager likes him. That should be enough. Even moving aside the whole pure profit thing from the owners that have an opportunity to juice up their finances in a season that's not going to plan in terms of revenue, as in qualifying for Europe or Champions League. But if you sell Ian Matson for pure profit, if you sell Trevoh Chalobah for pure profit, which by the way, both look highly likely, after already selling Hall, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount for pure profit, I know that's a bit of a dirty expression now, then you can leave Conor Gallagher. He's got 18 months left on his deal, which would mean next summer, at the end of the season, he could start negotiating. No, not negotiating for free. That's 6 months, not 12 months. Regardless, he'll be down to the last 12 months of his deal, and then Chelsea would feel like they have to let him go. But you don't sell him in January, just see what happens at the end of the season. I love Conor Gallagher, I want him to stay. I think he's one of those players that really, really tries hard and loves the club and is always going to give you 100%, and that's just the basics there. By the way, sometimes Chelsea have been lacking, so you really don't want to lose that. Even if Pochettino finds a midfielder that opens the attack better, that defends the back four better in transition, you just keep him in the squad, and you at least don't sell him in January. I understand how there might be difficulty with Gallagher himself. Look, if he truly does love Chelsea and never wants to move, then maybe sign the 8-year deal they're offering you, if that truly is the impasse of him not wanting to sign an 8-year deal, essentially doing what Mason Mount said. If you want to stay at Chelsea forever, stay at Chelsea forever. Sign an 8-year deal. It's easy for me to say, and we don't know the ins and outs and true stuff of the story, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, man, especially if it's a money thing as well. I think Chelsea, the new ownership, they structure these long deals in such a way where you get a basic, you know, your 90k a week, your 100k a week, rather than your Manchester United 220k a week. But you have the opportunity to juice it up, you know, in terms of qualifying for Europe, you know, winning games, clean sheets, I imagine, if you're a defender, goals if you're an attacker. I reckon there's bonuses involved there. Certainly that's what was being implied early doors. We'll see what happens though, but I think I'm going to sort of stick my neck on the line here. I think it's highly unlikely Chelsea sell Conor Gallagher to Tottenham in the coming days, weeks. Of course, let me know what you think down below. Conor Gallagher, this seems like a story that's going to bubble on. But in terms of other transfer business, I'm going to be covering it very, very closely in the following days. Of course, Chelsea are looking for a defender. We're being linked with a few defenders across Europe at the moment, which is something I'm going to look into. As those stories develop, I will do stats, deep dives, and look at the players so you know, we can learn about them together here on the channel. Midfielders as well, that's a massive one. Of course, maybe not a priority, but we have been linked with Fulham's Paulinho, who would be an amazing signing, I think. And of course, we don't know what Romeo Lavia is going to do and what's going on with his fitness as well. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. And of course, the big sexy thing, as always, is a goal scorer. A centre forward, a striker. Chelsea are looking at, you know, Victor Gyökeres, whatever his name is, over in Portugal, but he might stay to the end of the season. I think Brentford might hold on to Ivan Toney now because they are in big trouble. And with Mberno's injury and Visser going to AFCON, and the fact how they've lost so many games, I reckon had they'd won a few games, they'd be more inclined to sell him. But staying in the Premier League is going to be worth a lot more money than the money they will generate from the sale from Ivan Toney. So I reckon they should and probably will keep him. We'll see what happens there. And of course, Victor Osimhen, Napoli not going that well. It's not like they're in a title race at the moment. And there is a buyout clause now, I think, but it's a lot of money. Still, Chelsea will look for goal scorers, and who knows, there might be someone that pops up and joins into their side. I will be following it all here on the channel, so as always, thank you for liking and subscribing. You're welcome to follow me on Instagram at FootballYannick, and yeah, keep it locked here, and I'll see you back here very soon. Peace.